So let's hear it for the home team. Thank you. It's a great song. So today's the first Sunday in Advent, and we had our candle lit at the beginning of the service. It's also the day of the supermoon at 7:46 a.m. Just saying, there's a big supermoon today, a big full moon. And Advent marks the time when we symbolically start to call back the light. And it is no accident that in December that this is the season of the Festival of Lights. So we celebrate Kwanzaa, which again is happening not this Thursday, but next Thursday. We invite you to come for that. Hanukkah, Christmas, the solstice, and at the end of October, November is Diwali. So there's all this calling in of the light. And it isn't an accident because, you know, the nights are becoming longer, the days are shorter, and the light that we're calling in it's not just the sun that we're calling back, it is also the inner light that we are calling into being. Because perhaps it's in the darkness that the light becomes so much more pronounced, doesn't it? When you turn off your lights and light a few candles or sit by the fireplace, isn't it not beautiful? It just has such a different feel to it. And so it is spiritually. Sometimes when it is the darkest, it's when that light really touches us, either the light that's within us or the light that we touch from someone else. So just as we do every year, we walk through the Christmas story for the next couple of weeks up till Christmas Day. And our adventure begins with the call of Mary. And I know many of you know the story. How could you live in this culture and not know it? But Mary is called by the angel Gabriel. She is visited by him, and he tells her this wonderful news that she's going to have a child, and she's like, yeah, well, I don't have a husband, and not sure how that's going to happen. But she says yes. In the book of Luke 1, the angel answered and said to her that the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the highest will overshadow you. Therefore also the Holy One who is to be born will be called the Son of God. Now, when we look at the story metaphysically, what do angels represent? They represent our higher thoughts, do they not? So she is visited by the angel Gabriel. She is visited by this great inspiration, and then the Holy Spirit overshadows her. So what is the Holy Spirit? In unity, the Holy Spirit is the activity of God. It's the movement of spirit. So we have the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, yeah? And the Father is the source of all. It is the mind of God. It is the divine presence. The Son is the Spirit of God that dwells within us all, which we call the Christ. And the Holy Spirit is that movement of God, not only through us, but around us, in us, and everywhere that we are. So have you ever been overshadowed by the Holy Spirit? Has that ever happened to you in your life, where you just got hit with this moment of inspiration or this divine idea, or maybe you met someone, and all of a sudden you're overshadowed by the Holy Spirit. You can't help but be moved by this experience. And as it happens to Mary, she says, "Behold, the maidservant of the Lord. Let it be according to your word." And the angel departed from her. And so basically, Mary says yes to this journey and to this possibility. Just as when you were overshadowed by the Holy Spirit and you said yes, right? How many times have you said yes? And you don't know where it's going to take you, do you? You have no idea when you say yes to some things where life will take you or who you're going to meet or what's going to unfold in front of you. And that's what Mary does on this day. She also represents the intuitive self, right? And many times it's our intuition that first catches a glimpse of possibility, of the future. It's our intuitive self that knows there's something more. And when we can say yes to that moment of intuition, again, the adventure begins. I've learned over the years, particularly when I'm writing, to when that intuition steps in, instead of saying, no, that's stupid, go away, to just invite it in so that I can look at it. So one of the things that I do is I have to come up with the theme for every year, right? And it's a challenge at times. And what I've learned, so a couple days ago, the word pilgrim came. And I was like, pilgrim? What the heck, pilgrim, really? But then it was sort of like, just let it come and let it sit and let it invite it in. Because if we close off those intuitive hits that we get, those thoughts, those ideas, they can't grow, they can't flourish, they can't take life. And sometimes, obviously, an idea will come out and stand in the light, and you're like, nope, that's not going to work. You need to go back in the closet, or back from wherever. So listen and invite it in. When we say yes to an adventure, we're saying yes to life. Christine Walters Pantner said that we have a life impulse and we have a death impulse. And each choice allows us to move toward the things that bring us life. And if we don't choose the path of growth, we move toward that which drains us of life. You agree with that? So we can make life choices or we can make death choices, right? And not big death like I'm going to finish it today, but in incremental steps. Sometimes we can say, yeah, I'm not sure, and we start closing ourselves off and become smaller and smaller, and then life becomes more and more narrow. Nobody here, of course, but probably somebody you know, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 30:19, I call heaven and earth to witness that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live. So again, and what this touches on is the power of zeal. So Charles Fillmore wrote a book called The 12 Powers of Man, and in some of our yearly themes, we've gone through the 12 powers throughout the year. And the 12 powers are like the 7 chakras, only there's 12 of them. And they're powers that we have within us: imagination, love, understanding, wisdom. And zeal is that impulse to move forward. Charles Fillmore said it this way when he said, zeal is the mighty force that incites the winds, the tides, the storms. It urges the planet on its course and spurs the ant to greater exertion. It was Missouri. What else did he have to do? He was watching the ants. It is the urge behind all things. Zeal is the affirmative impulse of existence, and its command is go forward. So when we are choosing life, when we are making that decision, we are inciting, we are igniting the power of zeal that dwells within us, that is saying it's time to move forward, it's time to go. Charles Fillmore, at the age of 94, 2 or something, said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm. It's probably one of the things that he's known for saying more than anything else, because even at that age, he was ready to go. So, again, choosing life, I believe, means saying yes. So, many of you probably have heard of Shonda Rhimes. She's the creator of Grey's Anatomy. We can't live in Seattle and not know Grey's Anatomy, even if you don't watch it. I mean, come on. Scandal and a couple other shows. And she said that she challenged herself, this is a while ago, she challenged herself that she would say yes for an entire year, especially if she was afraid of something, that she would say yes to it. And she said, anything that made me nervous, took me out of my comfort zone, I forced myself to say yes to it. Did I want to speak in public? No, but yes. Did I want to be on live TV? No, but yes. Did I want to try acting? No, and no, but yes, yes, yes. And she said a crazy thing happened. The very act of doing the thing that scared me undid the fear, made it not scary. My fear of public speaking, my social anxiety, gone. It's amazing the power of one word. Yes changed my life. Yes changed me. Now, I don't know how many of you know, but she I'm just going to share. She said, around the world, my shows air in 256 territories in 67 languages for an audience of 30 million people. My brain is global, and 45 hours of that 70 hours of TV are shows I personally created and not just produced. So on top of everything else, I need to find time, quiet time, creative time to gather my fans around me, around the campfire, and tell my stories. Well, the challenge is the more that she did, the more that she did. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and not surprisingly, it led to burnout, right? She said that she was in this hum, and she loves her work. She's like, I got the dream job of the world, and I'm in this hum and just creating. And she's got these little kids, like they're 1 and 3 and 13, and of course the nanny's taking care of them. And she said one day the hum was gone. The creative process was not there. She was burnt out, she was fried, everything was stale, nothing was fun anymore. And she wasn't sure how or if she would ever get the hum back. And then she said she was leaving for work, and her little toddler came up to her and said, Mama, do you want to play? And then she remembered that she had agreed to say yes, right, to everything. And so she went, all right, and just went and played. And, with crayons and sticky fingers and the stuff you do with toddlers. And she made a point then to begin to say yes more to her children than to her work. And she said an interesting thing happened. The hum started to come back. It was very quiet at first, very gentle, not very strong. And she said then it became stronger, but one of the things that she noticed was, because before she said, I was the hum. I am the hum. And what she realized later was, the hum is there, but I'm not the hum. I am so much more than the hum. I am so much more than that. I am a mother, and so the whole thing just sort of came back in. So her advice at the end of all this was play. Make sure you play a little bit. Say yes to play, not just yes to work. So what's it like for you when you're, with somebody and you have an idea and they say, no, that's stupid, what are you thinking? It just seems like it shuts it down right away, right? But when you share an idea with someone and they go, yeah, that might work, that sounds pretty good. And I have to say that, Erin, I so appreciate working with you, because I come sometimes to her and I feel like it's the stupidest ideas in the universe. And she'll go, yeah, that could work. And then she starts off with it, and we could do this with the music, and we could do that. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you, because you're because it's like taking that idea that's sort of hiding and shy and then bringing it out, and it's like, sure, we could do this, and we could play with this, and it makes all the difference in the world. And I know in improv, like, that's kind of a basic rule, isn't it? That in improv you say yes and yes and there's no bad ideas. So I'm inviting us to play with that. And, I just have a couple more examples of that. And one is a woman named Vivian McGrath, who also took on the challenge to say yes. And as we go through this, imagine in your life that the angel Gabriel has showed up in your life. And, the angels are higher thoughts. But imagine the angel Gabriel has showed up in your life and has offered you something and said, hey, what about this? What would it be? What is it that you need to say yes to right now that maybe you're afraid to say yes to, huh? What is it that the angel Gabriel can call out of you? So Vivian McGrath said that by saying yes to things, she started to say yes. And she's like, not just like wimpy yes, like people-pleasing yes. We're not talking about that. But she said, I started to say yes to things that could open new doors and possibilities for me. So when I would get an invitation to a party, instead of automatically saying no, I'd stop and think about it and then maybe say yes. She said, if you're open to the universe, if you say yes to going to new places, different events, or to meeting new people, the chances are that they will open the door, that you'll meet a new teacher or a mentor, or maybe someone will say something that you need to hear. Or perhaps it'll lead you to someone who is a pivotal relationship in your life. And on the other side of that, you got to look at no just for a minute, right? Because sometimes saying no also that's not what this talk is about today, but saying no also takes courage. In this one article I was reading, she said, when I finally got the courage to say no, it was sort of like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. It was like nothing, it was like nothing, because I finally stood up to something that needed to be stood up to in my life. So saying yes can radically change how we live our lives. Number one, it can open doorways to your dreams. So when this idea comes to you, instead of just pushing it aside, just say yes. And maybe call a friend that you know is a yes person that will brainstorm or dream with you to bring it out and to let it flourish. Number two, you don't know who you're going to meet. When you say yes to a whole new experience and a whole new adventure, you don't know where it's going to take you. And the third is that your life becomes more exciting and filled with potential, because the sky is the limit. This week, it's either December 3rd or 6th, marks my 27th year with Seattle Unity. 27 years. And I was talking to John Duran last night at the party, and he said, there's probably other ministers that have been around churches that long, but very few of them probably have been in the different roles that you have been in over the 27 years. And that's true. I was senior co-minister, then I was associate minister, and now I'm senior minister again. And I've watched the church go through different names. When I arrived here, it was Unity Church of Truth. Then it was Unity of Seattle, then it was Seattle Unity Church, and now it's Seattle Unity. So we've gone through 4 name changes since I have been here. And I feel like in being here and being in the different roles, for me it was saying yes to whatever came up, right? To whatever the changes were. It's like, okay, I'm going to say yes to this, and I'm going to see what happens. And so it's allowed me to be a part of this incredible community and meet just amazing people for the last 27 years. I always know how long I've been here because my daughter was 6 weeks old when we moved here, and she's 27 in October. So when we looked around and saw how the neighborhood was changing around us, the board, and the congregation, the community, we looked at this and we said, so what do we need to say yes to? How do we need to change in order to fit into this new neighborhood that's happening? And so we entered into this whole building project and into these building changes. We said yes. When we started it, when we said yes, did we know what we were saying yes to? I certainly didn't. I was trained to pray and do different things. I was not trained to do a building program. And yet, I've learned an awful lot. I know about contractors and project managers and architects, and I know all kinds of things that I never knew before. And I've met some incredible people that are a part of this process, particularly Tom Kundig and Olson Kundig, how amazing they are. So, our adventure begins today. Our Christmas adventure begins today. Mary was visited by the Holy Spirit. This journey begins with her call, the call of the intuition, the call of saying, I think there might be something else out there for me, recognizing that the Holy Spirit can come upon us. The Holy Spirit can affect us. And that is the activity of God that works through each one of us. So what is it that you need to say yes to? What is the angel Gabriel asking of you? Say yes and watch your life change. So can I hear it? Yes. All right, one more time. Yes. And one more time. Yes. Yeah, all right, watch things change for the good.